All right, we are live.
Yay! Oh my gosh, everybody, welcome back.
Thank
Thank you for being here. I see us. Okay, perfect.
Yes, I figured it out. Thank you for coming. We love to have
Yes,
you.
if this is your first time here, this is our podcast, Fantasyland. We just started it. Everything is subject to change. You're basically getting in on the ground floor, seeing a BTS version. But this is our third episode so far. We previously covered Mr. Beast's failing theme park. We talked about Disney Cruise Line last episode, and this episode we're going to be talking about Disneyland Paris with a very special guest. But before we get to our guest, Stephen, will you tell the crowd a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Since a lot of you people already know who Kat is, my name is Stephen Asarch, and I have been a digital culture journalist for the past decade. I've written at Newsweek, Business Insider. I covered the Mr. Beast scandal of last year, and if there is a random influencer scandal that has happened, you've probably read one of my stories by accident. Kat and I started working together at Business Insider, where we developed a love of both weed and Disney and influencers. And over the
That's
past
three things.
three things. I count weed and Disney as one. You know, if I'm not watching Oliver and Company sober, I think
Okay,
I can
that's
make
fair.
that point perfectly clear. But Kat and I have sort of been talking about starting a podcast and wanted to find the perfect topic. And I think Disney's weird obsession with fandom and all of its controversies over the years is just something that, like, I think should be talked about more through a critical lens. Because Disney, though we'd love it, is not paying us. Unlike the droves and droves of influencers you see online dedicated to going on cruise ships and theme parks that are getting free swag, we do it for the love of the game. The love of good old Walt and the horrifying animatronic that they made of him recently.
Agreed. So basically the theme of this podcast thus far is we're exploring the Disney adult phenomenon as Disney adults who have like a critical eye but also are completely obsessed with everything Disney. And for this episode today, we're going to be looking at Euro Disney, which was the second international park, the first to really cause Disney a lot of financial issues that continued on for more than a decade. And it's one that I've been to once. Stephen has never been, and our guest who we're going to bring on today, Adam McIntyre, has been multiple times as a European himself and can give us some insight into this park.
Yes. I feel we should probably explain who the man next to us is, Michael Eisner, who
Yes.
I think, gave us the Disney Renaissance you know today and the massive failure that was Euro Disney. I consider him a man who had a vision and who is willing to take risks. And some of those risks were basically almost bankrupted Disney. And Euro Disney was probably the biggest.
Yes. And so there's a book that I have that I'm going to be reading some excerpts from, which is called Disney War. And it talks about how, as CEO, Michael Eisner did incredible things for Disney. He ushered in the golden era of animation. He was behind Beauty and the Beast. He was behind The Little Mermaid, behind The Lion King, some of like the biggest hits of the classic Disney era. But he also took really big swings, including Euro Disney, which was later Disney Paris, which became eventually somewhat of a success, but almost ruined the company before then.
Okay. Are we
Shall
uh
we get into it?
are we ready? Is Adam ready? All
He's
right.
ready.
All right, we're swapping in.
Okay, bring
Hi
him on.
guys. Adam, you're on screen now.
Oh my god, hello.
Oh my gosh, yay. Wait, Adam, can you see are you in the Discord? Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
Okay.
amazing. Okay, so to get started, um, I want to tease what is sort of on the horizon for Disney Paris, which is their upcoming World of Frozen attraction. So let's watch their TikTok where they're teasing this and then discuss what this could bring to the Disney Paris Resort.
You got it. I gotta swap to a separate room, and boom.
Olaf, nous t'avons cherché partout.
Oh, hi. I'm right here.
Regarde le ciel.
Wait, can Adam see
Oh wait, Adam can't see it.
it? Yeah,
I'm
that's
watching the
fine.
YouTube stream.
Okay, let me. I can do this.
Wow, I'm so moved by the Olaf. I'm so equally disturbed as I am excited.
Okay, now you should be able to see the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful.
Okay,
Yay!
now we're good.
Yeah.
One more time with the French.
Olaf, nous t'avons cherché partout.
Now wait, can we hear
Oh,
it?
hi. I'm right here.
Regarde le ciel.
Okay, I am.
That is very loud.
The problem with them putting this Olaf animatronic in Paris is that, like, a French person is going to put a cigarette out on it. Like,
It's real snow. It
Well-
should work.
I mean, my thought on the Olaf animatronic is I think that they're teasing it now because it is obviously one of the most exciting things that like people are most excited to see there. But I do not actually think that they're going to have it walking around the park once it's actually open.
Well, we can show what it looks like actually walking around the park.
Yes, well, we will get there, but that's kind of like the teaser of the Frozen Land that is incoming. But let's go back to the PowerPoint because I want to talk about what Disneyland Paris actually is compared to the ones in the US. Okay, reader comments. Elsa is mugged.
No, she's French. There's a difference.
Genuinely thought this was in Spanish, and why is Elsa's dress white?
You know, those are all good points. You should be in Imagineering. They need people these days.
I think Elsa's dress is white in the later movies, but I could be wrong. But I think that's why she's wearing the white outfit.
To be fair, who's
Okay.
watched the later movies?
Me. I love Frozen 2.
With the water horse?
Yes! Frozen 2 is hated by a lot of people, but it's actually one of my underground faves.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much.
I think that like the story really suffers because they clearly just rushed it out to capitalize on how big of a success Frozen was. But the music is actually good. So if you can kind of just like put that aside, maybe use a second screen while you're watching Frozen 2, then I think it is a really wonderful cinematic experience. But okay, so Frozen is coming to Disney Paris next year, but Disney Paris right now, one of like the major differences is the architecture of it compared to all of the rest of the parks. It's the only castle park in the world that has this really specific design. It's inspired by Sleeping Beauty, and the Imagineers who worked on Disneyland Paris actually wanted to differentiate it from real life European castles because the mindset and sort of the idea behind it was Europeans actually live near a lot of the historic places that these castles are modeled off after. So why would they come to Disney if they could go see the real thing? Which is why they did this like fantasy element. And then they also have an actual animatronic dragon underneath the castle, which Adam, have you seen? Have you gone to see the dragon before?
I was looking for it, but me and my mom like didn't know where. I didn't know it was underground. We were going up, and of course we couldn't find it because we were going up instead of down. I was fuming whenever I couldn't go and see it.
Yes, it is. So it is below the castle, and it's like you have like the main entrance where you can go through like the Sleeping Beauty part, but then there's like a side entrance which you can kind of see in the center picture that's like underneath the moat, and that is where they have the animatronic dragon, which is really cool. However, this set the budget of the entire like resort, like millions over budget, building this special castle, building this animatronic dragon, and also using real stone and real mosaics instead of plastic, instead of concrete, which is what they used in like Florida and in California. Because again, they were like trying to present this to quote unquote European sensibilities, versus what they thought of as like cheaper American tastes. Which, Adam, do you think that is even true of like European style?
I'm gonna be honest, like I don't think so at all. Like whenever I go to the castle, it looks like a nicer castle than the Anaheim one, but like honestly, like it is quite hard to tell them apart whenever I'm there in the moment, if I'm being honest. Like the argument of like Europeans being aware of castles, I don't think they've done that good of a job at differentiating. And also one thing that really stands out to me that like was pointed out to me whenever I posted photos at the castle and I can't like stop focusing on it is like, what the hell is the trees to the left? Why do they look like Minecraft trees? Like someone pointed them out and I was like, oh my god, these look like if you were to like generative like AI like add on like AI doing a terrible job. Like why are they cubed?
No, it's such a good point. And they definitely leaned on like a lot of like interesting surrealist like architecture and artistic influences, but it doesn't really translate to what the park is.
Yeah, I'm like used to Disney being an IP hellscape, and I'm like, maybe the cube trees are from Alice in Wonderland, and the dragon is supposed to be Maleficent? I genuinely have no clue. It all just seems like disjointed and all over the place for like a payoff that kind of looks like a children's toy.
So is this the biggest castle or no? Because this is definitely bigger than Anaheim, right?
Oh, yeah.
It is bigger than Anaheim. It is not the biggest castle. I actually think this is the second smallest castle because the one in Florida is bigger. The one in Tokyo is like, I think around this size, but the one in Shanghai, and the Hong Kong one is actually smaller as well. The Hong Kong one is like a 1-to-1 replica of the one in Anaheim, but the Shanghai castle is humongous. It's like twice the size of like the second biggest castle. So this one is kind of in the middle.
Okay.
And Katy Perry was just at the Shanghai one. I don't know if you saw her photo dump was beautiful.
I did not see that. I need to look at that.
That's next week's podcast. You know, we're going to go to space, and we're going to learn all about Katy Perry.
Beautiful. Okay, Steven, go to the next slide.
You got it.
Oh my goodness. Copyright.
I'm sorry.
So
this is fair use.
I used Adam's vacation photos for a significant amount of this PowerPoint. But so I wanted to include these just to talk briefly about how, like, in Disneyland Paris itself, a lot of the rides are very similar to what you would get if you went to Disneyland in California or if you went to basically any of the Disneyland parks around the world. But they do have, like, a lot of people consider their version of Haunted Mansion called Phantom Manor and their version of Big Thunder Railroad to be the best versions, or at least like better versions. And Big Thunder Railroad in Paris is actually the longest version of the ride, and it's cool because it's like you start on one side of the river and actually I think you go underground at one point. Do you remember that part, Adam?
You go under the like built up of the ride for sure.
Yeah. And so that, I feel like they definitely have the best version of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
I've never been on either.
Sure. Out of anyone's I've been on for sure.
Yeah. Steven doesn't like roller coasters, so
no, I'm a scaredy little baby. I don't like being scared for fun, you know? Let me interview an executive, I'm cool with it. But bring me on Splash Mountain, I'm like shaking and ruin everybody else's time.
The concept of being scared on Big Thunder Mountain.
That's true, but my favorite Disney story with Adam, which is probably your least favorite story, is that when I took you on the Tower of Terror.
Well, whatever.
did not appreciate. Okay, Steven, go to the next slide.
Boo.
Okay, so then these are photos that I took on my vacation to Disney Paris in 2022, and these are like, I kind of think they just show off. I think one of the best things about the park is that it is very beautiful. So like they did invest a lot of money into like making it look really good, making it look really interesting. And so like just the fact that even I took these on my iPhone, I think that you can tell that the composition of the park is really well done. You have like the traditional Frontierland, which looks really good. They did a really fun like Pirates of the Caribbean and Peter Pan inspired like Adventureland section of the park. And then they have an Alice in Wonderland walkthrough, which could also, Stephen, to your point, be why they made the trees square.
Just like that little brief, that Alice in Wonderland thing is gorge. I love the little playing card people.
Yeah, I think that part is really beautiful. And you can actually go up in that tower to like the top of that tower.
And these were day one?
And these are just photos that I took. And yeah, I think all of this was in there on day one of the park opening.
I can understand why they completely blew the budget away, but it's still really pretty.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. And I think the next slide is the drone show, because this is also a recent thing. When I went in 2022, they had just started doing the drones, and I think the drones are actually genuinely very impressive.
All right.
Okay, so we'll watch these.
You got it. Swap back here. Oh, we're getting copyright struck so hard.
No! Okay, wait, click out before we get struck.
Nope.
Okay, well, this didn't happen whenever I was there, like last week, but whatever.
Okay, the reason why this one in particular is so good is because this was Bastille Day. So these were like special fireworks, I'm pretty sure, that they did for like France's version of July 4th. But nonetheless, the drones and the fireworks at Disneyland Paris, I think, are really, really, really good, honestly.
I have never seen a drone show in real life that has been like the way that they're kind of doing them these days, where, you know, we looked at the Beastland one, it's got like Mr. Beast's jaw going like, ah. It's hard to do those in Manhattan.
Totally.
A lot of buildings get in the way.
They're probably not allowed to do drone shows in Manhattan for a number of reasons.
Wait, guys, really quickly, can you go back to slide 4?
Yes.
So remember saying about the trees? Is there genuinely a reason that they have them? Because look how stupid they actually look.
It's an artistic choice.
I think it's really an artistic choice. They might cover something up behind them from certain angles is the only other thing that I can think of, because they do that sometimes to like try to hide sight or to like make sight lines better. But yeah, they do look crazy.
Very angular stuff.
In terms of like hiding things as well, one thing that my mom picked up on was, I don't know if this is true or she was lying to me, but she, like, when we were there, specifically in the mornings and night times, it was outrageously foggy that like most of the castle was hidden. And my mom was like, we're on like a level of land that there's like so much fog. I don't know if that's true or false, whether she was BSing me or whatever. However, it was so foggy that for a majority of the 3 days that we were there, at least from middle to top of the castle was always completely hidden.
That is wild. I wonder if that also has to kind of do with the weather. Like just like the weather patterns in general, because we were there like late summer, early fall, but I imagine like in winter when there's heavier precipitation that it would fog up like all the time.
Yeah, and then the castle looks even bigger because there's fog blocking the top.
Wait, Steven, go to the Walt Disney Studios slide. Okay, now we have to talk about this shitty park, because I think that Disney Paris, for all of its faults, and like we'll get into the financial aspect of it and why it flopped in the beginning, but for all of its faults, I think Disney Paris is super beautiful. I think there are a lot of things to love about it, and I really enjoyed going there, and I would go back again. But the second park in the Walt Disney, like in Disney Paris Resort, is terrible. And this is where the World of Frozen is going to go as part of a massive, like, billion-dollar renovation to try to make this park worthwhile, because as it is right now, it is absolutely not worth going here, especially if you're not a fan of thrill rides, because as you can see from this photo, there's no actual like symbol or like singular attraction of the park, but they do have a version of Tower of Terror. And as a Tower of Terror fan, this is again like it's the longest version of the ride anywhere in the world, and it is a really cool version of the ride. But if you don't like this ride, and then if you go to the next slide, Steven, if you don't like this ride,
kill it with fire. Oh, that's awful.
These are literally the two main rides, and they tend to get the longest wait times. This is Crush's Coaster. So this is a unique ride to Walt Disney Studios Park, as it's currently called. But Crush's Coaster is a unique ride. The line gets insanely long, and it is a roller coaster, and you sit in this turtle shell, and it like spins. But having ridden this ride, I would not say that it's worth the 2-hour wait that it has every single day. And then if you go to the next slide.
Well, brief question: Is it for Barbie? Is it for Barbie dolls?
That's a model of the ride.
Oh, okay. I was very confused.
But yeah, go to the Cars Land one. This one I in particular want to talk about with you, Adam, because you love Cars Land in Anaheim, California, as do I. It's one of their best themed lands, I think, anywhere in the world is Cars Land in California. And I don't even like Cars the movie that much, but Cars Land in California is an amazing land. Cars Land in Paris, I can't even find any photos that do it justice because there are essentially no photos of it online. It is so embarrassing. It's like a miniature version of the one in California, but missing most of the stuff. And then they have this one ride where you like sit in a van and they just drive you around and you like look at statues of the cars.
As one commenter said, it's actually Radiator Springs. You must use the correct intellectual property names.
Okay, Radiator Springs.
There you go. I'm really starting to... It's really interesting to me when it comes to like Disney's other parks, how they try to bring in the Americana. Because Disney, at its core, Walt loved America more than he loved his children. It was all about trying to make sure, like, Main Street USA is the main part. Everything is kind of based on what the American capitalist future could be. And all of these, like, this park that is clearly not in America is trying to capture that sort of Americana. Like, Radiator Springs is based off of Route 66, you know, Hollywood Studios with the Tower of Terror. They're trying to bring that American flair, and it seems to be those are the stuff that's kind of like fallen flat.
Well, you have to note something really important here, which is that fundamentally French people hate America.
Yes.
100%. And I think that is such part of a huge reason why this park was such a flop, and that even like shined through in a lot of the reviews of the park in like French newspapers and stuff. But yeah, and a lot of this stuff, interestingly enough, like Walt Disney Studios Park opened a decade after Disneyland Paris opened. So Disneyland Paris opened in 1992. Walt Disney Studios Park opened in 2002. And I think that the budget just simply did not exist at that point for Disneyland Paris, because there's an infamous anecdote that a bunch of Disney executives from the U.S. came to visit like Walt Disney Studios before it opened, and they put them in like a golf cart and drove them around to give them a tour of the park. And when the tour was done, they thought that they had just gone through like the backstage area or the parking lot because it's so sparse, and like there just aren't a lot of rides there in general.
Also, fun fact about you saying the timings of the park opening. With the opening of the original park, the legendary, my mom, Sinead McIntyre, was there for that, and she has a Euro Disney with the opening on it from that original opening as well, fun fact, and she still has it to this day. And the quality, by the way, is so amazing in it that I look at the stuff that I bought on my recent trip and I'm like, whoa.
That is wild. Oh my god, we're getting her on the pod next.
Yeah, we need that for the thumbnail.
Okay, and then, so this is some photos that I took when I was at the Avengers portion of Walt Disney Studios Park, and this was also something that had just opened by the time that I got there in like late 2022. So this was again like a brand new park, and part of the park, and it was again, so bad. The big structure with like the sun shining onto it in my picture is supposed to be one of the like singular attractions in this part of the land, but it literally just looks like the side of a building. And it's supposed to be the robot voice in Avengers who like talks to Iron Man. And occasionally throughout the day, it'll like light up and make sound and noise. And then inside that ride is like a Captain Marvel Iron Man themed roller coaster, which is just rock and roller coaster that is rethemed. And I took this picture of the queue where they have the Brie Larson like cameo appearance in this like pre-show thing that you watch. And I feel like you can kind of tell that they spent all the money on getting like Brie Larson to do this cameo, because the ride itself was extremely underwhelming, and this whole land was extremely underwhelming. And they also have this land again in like Disney California. It's slightly better in California Adventure, but not by much. And the Spider-Man Web Slingers ride is also a really, really huge letdown. Adam, when you went here, did you go to these parts of this park?
Well, yeah, I mean, what I will say is this park in particular, like you said, is so terrible and is so boring. Like, is so goddamn boring. And like, here's the thing as well, like, even with the Disney park, like, I do think that overall, like, the Paris Disney park and the Walt Studios, I think both of them are significantly very more underwhelming than any other park that I've been to. And I would almost argue that they're like slightly boring. And I think that like the Disneyland park is quite underwhelming. And I think that specifically for the amount of people that go, but then this park is so terrible beyond words, like is so like it's like a passing in and out. Like, I don't know how someone would buy like a one park ticket for this one. The only redeeming thing about it this time was that they had a show called like Together, and it was all of every single Pixar character ever, and it was probably the greatest show that I've ever seen in any Disney park that I've ever been to. But like, I have never gone on Crush's Coaster because I am too scared of it, and I would never go on the equivalent of Tower of Terror again because Kat manipulated me to go on it in LA, and it was the worst experience of my life. And I think other than that, like, the park looks so bare and so terrible that it's just like and the Avengers Land, or whatever this is, the biggest attraction I would say in it is, honestly, with so many of these aspects of these parks in Paris, is like the gift shop.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point. That is such a good point. Yeah, I think that like Disney Paris overall, it has its moments, but there is a lot of it that is really disappointing. And so I wanted to read just a couple of excerpts from my
We're
book,
in
Disney
school now, guys.
Because so this is a 600-page book that my fiance got me for Valentine's Day one year, and it was such an amazing Valentine's Day gift because obviously I absolutely love it. And it is written by a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, James B. Stewart. He covers the business world, he covers conspiracies in the business world, and he wrote this whole book on Michael Eisner, the CEO who we were talking about. And a big theme of this book is that Euro Disney was such a financial disaster. But Eisner himself was a really eccentric Disney CEO. And I would say, Stephen, you were alluding to this earlier, but it's like, there are things that we all love about Disney that only exist because of Michael Eisner. So for all of his various failures, there was some stuff that he did right. And he was obsessed with architecture. He was obsessed with architectural design. In Walt Disney World, the Yacht Club and Beach Club resorts were both like kind of under his watch, and those were his favorite hotels that he always stayed at. He's also the reason why I would say like the Polynesian and the Contemporary and some of these other resorts like look as good as they do. So when it came to building Euro Disney, he was so focused and blew up the budget to make it look really beautiful. But something that I found really interesting that I was talking to you about recently, Adam, is this passage about how they decided to put it in Paris. Because it said, the old regime had just opened Tokyo Disneyland when Eisner and Wells took charge, and basically, they explained that Disney had already tried but failed to negotiate an agreement with the French government for a similar park. As part of that effort, Disney had evaluated nearly 1,200 potential sites in Europe and had narrowed the choices to 3. two along beaches on the Mediterranean near Barcelona, Spain, and the other in a large beet field east of Paris near the town of Marne-la-Vallée. They were both immediately enthusiastic, and they wanted to own it as compared to the Japanese Tokyo Disney, where they split it with another company. But Eisner wanted France from the start. To him, France represented the pinnacle of Western culture, the antithesis of American mass culture that ironically Disney itself represented. Since his brief foray to Paris as an aspiring playwright, Paris had been where Eisner wanted to make his mark. Two camps within Disney quickly formed: the traditional parks people and Eisner, who argued that the weather in Paris wasn't that much worse than Tokyo, and the Japanese were willing to wait in lines for hours for sub-freezing temperatures. So my question is, Adam, would you go to Disney more or less if it was in Barcelona?
Oh my God, I wish it was. I literally said to my mom that I wish that it was. I wish it was anywhere else, honestly. Like it is in such a terrible area. Not only is it so inconveniently like it's not why the hell is it called Disney Paris? Like when it was called Euro Disney, like that was fine. You travel into Paris and then you travel like an hour and a half to even get to the like site of it. But like this last time that I was at Disney like a couple weeks ago with my mom, the weather was unforgiving. Like to the stage where we didn't line up in queues because we genuinely couldn't. And thank God we were staying in the hotel, which changed things. It made the experience at times like completely unbearable. So to that point where you're saying like in Tokyo, they're willing to wait in really cold weather. I think European cold weather and maybe like Japanese cold weather, I think they can be very different at times, and very similar at times as well. I think that having it where it is was probably the biggest mistake that they could have ever made. I think that they would have had more success those first couple of years if they had it in a place like near Barcelona. And I think that if it was there to this day, I think it would be more successful because it would be very similar to the Anaheim or Orlando model. I honestly think it couldn't be in a worse place. He's just stubborn, and that's why it's there.
Yeah, 100%, 1,000,000%.
Disneyland was built on an orange grove, and Paris was a beets. I guess they just like just destroying as much farmland as possible to put in weird roller coasters. That's the Disney way.
Wait, Steven, have you ever been to Paris? The Paris one?
No, I've never been to Paris, period. It's high on my list, but I've only been to the American Disneys. When Kat went to Tokyo Disney, I just watched her stories with like so much jealousy and glee, because it looked so amazing and so interesting. And now we're like, this is kind of my biggest. This is my understanding of Disneyland Paris is basically what we're seeing here, and honestly, not impressed.
Well, I would go back, but I wouldn't make a trip like to that area just to go to Disney Paris. I would go if I was like in France again, but I would only go for one day because I don't think that it's worth like spending more time. Like I would say that the ones in Japan definitely are. But so this is my last excerpt that I'll read. This is from the day that Disneyland Paris opened, which one of our beautiful commentators was there to witness. So, whatever the cost, Euro Disney did succeed in opening at precisely 9 a.m. on April 22nd, 1992. All the architects were on hand, along with stars Candice Bergen, Eddie Murphy, and Melanie Griffith. Farmers blockaded the roads. French President Francois Mitterrand declined to attend, dismissing the expensive new investment with Gallic indifference as just not my cup of tea. For all Disney's efforts, it was clear from early reactions that Europeans would not be easily won over by Disney's American version of make-believe. International Herald Tribune critic Stephen Bailey wrote, "The old world is presented with all the confident big-ticket flim-flam of painstaking fakery that this bizarre campaign of reverse-engineered cultural imperialism represents. I like to think that by the turn of the century, Euro Disney will have become a deserted city." Damn. The opening day attendance was just 6,000 people, far short of the projected 10,000. Although attendance through December reached 7 million, it fell off drastically during the cold weather. Unlike the Japanese, the French were not willing to wait in lines in the cold.
I don't blame
So
him.
there you have it. There you have it.
You're right,
I
Adam.
love that Eddie Murphy was there the day that it opened.
It was during his partying days. I'm sure he had a great time at Disneyland Paris.
He would have gone anywhere.
Exactly. Okay, wait, Steven, go to the next slide.
Boom.
So something interesting about the Disneyland Paris Hotel, which was under construction while I was there, but we'll get to Adam's stay at the Disneyland Paris Hotel. This was the first hotel, I believe, that was actually built inside a Disney park. There is now a hotel inside Tokyo Disney Sea, and there might be hotels inside some of the other international parks, but this was a first for the company, and I love the look of the Disneyland Hotel. It is like this pale pink color with the white trim. It is beautiful. You walk through it to get into the park. It's stunning. But when they were building this hotel, an Eisner quirk that I just thought again was so funny is that he wanted there to be balconies. And as you can see in these photos, there are balconies. But the French designers were really afraid that people would hang dirty clothes over the sides of these banisters. So they were like, no balconies. And Eisner was the only one who wanted balconies, but because he was the CEO, he eventually won out. And they have the balconies today, and I think the balconies are really beautiful. So it's one of those things where I'm like, he's crazy, but he is free.
That's it, It might be a weird idea to put a balcony on the ground floor and to just, force people on balconies, but he had a vision,
Yeah.
He had something people cared about. Bob Iger wouldn't put balconies unless you could put a Marvel character on it and sell some form of premium currency.
Exactly. But yeah, go forward 2 slides because I want to talk to Adam about the one before that. So Adam, you sent me these photos when you stayed in the hotel for Christmas. So I really want to hear sort of your impressions of everything and what you think the value was.
I mean, it was expensive as shit. The reason that I did it was because me and my mom have never stayed in one of the hotels before, and I tried getting a package where I could get the tickets as well. I mean, it was so expensive. I mean, I think it genuinely was it was over £2,000 for sure. I think it might have been £2,500, which is $3,000, and we were there for 2 nights.
Wow.
Do I think it's worth the money? No, because I don't think anything is worth that amount of money. However, what I will say is it is specifically with the Paris park, it is if you want the best experience, the being able to come and go from the park as easy as going to a bathroom in the park, it's more convenient to go to your room in the hotel to go to the bathroom than wait in a line at the park. Or when it was cold, coming and going, and also the separate entrances and exits for people staying at the hotel. Also, recently they stopped non-hotel people that were staying there from being able to come in and out of the hotel, which sucks, but definitely enhanced the experience of kind of the exclusivity of it, which kind of made the money worth it. So beautiful. That smell is amazing. The rooms were great. The bar upstairs was lovely. The exclusive shops were great. The main thing that was just really nice about the hotel for me and my mom specifically was it was definitely families oriented. And again, I called Kat and I was Steven, and I was like, there's so many families here and a lot of kids. I'm looking at everyone. I'm playing this game with my mom where I'm do you think that they're rich, or do you think that they are in severe credit card debt? And we would do this back and forth because I'm how are you all affording this? But anyways, so being able to be in the hotel and literally just seeing young kids dressed up as the princesses or the princes and stuff like that, it brings you back into that nostalgia. That was the nicest thing for me. I do think the experience was really great. I don't think I would ever do it again, but it was one of those things that I could tick off of my bucket list for sure. But my God, I was there with my mom and it was expensive. I don't know how people do it as families like that. I mean, I need to see that credit card debt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like the Disney target audience, and this is what I have heard like from numerous people, is like so much of it is in the emotional marketing of like your kids are only going to be young, this young one time. And Disney will literally include that as like a tagline in an advertisement. I remember I saw a commercial on TV like last year, and it was a commercial for Disney World, and it was like, you and your daughter when she's 5 years old for a limited time only. And I was like,
God.
yeah. Isn't that insane? I was like, that is so emotionally manipulative. And if I were a parent, I feel like I would 100% buy into that kind of argument because it triggers your existential dread. And you think to yourself, like, the cost of going and spending time at Disney World is worth it because my child will only be young this one time. And I feel like when you start to add in the cost of the Disney hotels, it gets to a really exorbitant place. And I know like my family, when we went to Disney when we were kids, we would not stay in the hotels because they were just so expensive. Now that I'm an adult and I don't have kids of my own, I have gone to not this hotel but like some of the Disney hotels, and they are beautiful, they are convenient. I think it is a really like fun experience, but it does like kind of make you feel a little ill looking at how expensive it all is.
Yeah, I've done Pop Century, which is basically like the budget Florida hotel that has like a giant 12-foot Roger Rabbit statue standing outside. And then you get to the other side, which is this. And don't you want your kids to remember this? Beautiful Christmas tree and gorgeous area. So what? You'll be working in the coal mines the rest of your life to pay off that credit card debt. Disney demands it. It's like this massive capitalist culture that Disney has just like accepted that is its identity. Zootopia 2 is like now one of the most viewed films in like, it has the highest opening weekend of any animated film, or at least it's in the top 5. And like, I don't think that's what Disney's going to lead into its marketing, at least for the parks. Right. It's going to be like, don't you want to remember the magic? You know, cherish the moment. And also go see our movies so we can make more cherished moments inside the parks based off of the intellectual property.
No,
I'm going to
100%.
start using that about like, you're only, you know, this young once, like experience this. Let me tell you something, I'm going to start using that marketing.
Donate to our channel. You're only young once. The money is irrelevant.
Exactly. There was something else I was gonna say about this hotel. Oh, it's interesting to me too. Like, this hotel is the most expensive one, I'm pretty sure, in Disney Paris. They have some other hotels that are off property. And when Anna and I went in 2022, we looked at staying at some of like the cheaper hotels that they have, but we were ultimately like, that price to us wasn't even worth it. If we were going to stay in any of the hotels, we would definitely stay in this one because I think it does have like the biggest appeal by far. But we stayed in an Airbnb because it was just like, we were also spending 3 days in this area. Like, we were going to do 3 nights. So we were definitely not going to spend, you know, that much on the hotel that one time.
Wait, I did have one thing to say on this. So on the hotel, one thing I find really interesting was, I think because I'm spending my own money as well, like I'm very aware of things in a way where like maybe I wouldn't be if I was on like a family holiday. What was really interesting was the hotel is obviously incredibly expensive and they have like these packages and stuff. But even at the reception, I was noticing that there was still a hierarchy where there was like the main reception, and then beside the reception, there was like a little shield up, and it was called like VIP reception, and it wasn't celebrity, and it wasn't people paying more for park tickets, it was just people paying for the club suites. And I was like, oh my god, they're not even like hiding that. And when you would go to the elevators, you specifically, when you would do your key card, you wouldn't be allowed, they would show you that you're not allowed access to certain floors. And I was like, it's so interesting that like me as like a normal person has spent thousands of pounds to be here, but like, and this is a luxury experience, but you're still letting me know that there is more luxury to be had. And it's like this constant, like, unattainable level. Like, I find it so strange, like so strange. And again, it's like, because I'm spending my own money, I'm very aware of it, but like, it really, like, not allowing guests who, like, again, you're only allowed in the hotel if you're a paying guest, okay? But then when you get into the hotel, okay, now you're only allowed access to certain levels because you're not our guest who's spending above this amount of money. It's fucked.
Yeah.
Last week, we talked about the Disney cruises, and they have these level suites that are so unnecessarily exorbitant, like a $30,000 Hercules suite that comes with all the bells and whistles and fancy bathtubs you could ever need on a boat in the water. And Disney basically has created this, like, almost blockade when it comes to wealth. They want you to feel if you're spending a certain amount of money, you should be spending more. You want to have the best experience possible because, again, your kid's only 5 once and you don't want them to think you're poor. So why not splurge for the VIP? Why not splurge for the meet and greet experience? Because that's what they see from their influencers and that's what they expect from their parents.
It's also like the signs of like the wealth disparity are made so much more visible today than they were even a decade ago, because like the fast pass system is such a good example of this. When I was a kid going to Disney, the amount of fast passes you received and the ability to use fast pass had nothing to do with how much money you had. Everyone could get a certain number a day, the same number per day, for free. And they were like little physical paper tickets. So there were no visual signs of disparity between the guests' income level with regard to who could skip lines. Today, it is obviously completely different. There is a very visible lightning lane. You have to pay so much money to get into that lightning lane. Sometimes you have to pay more once you're in the park to get into specific lightning lanes. And as you're walking through that lane, you're seeing people walk by you constantly. And the thought in your mind is like, wow, I wish that this line was moving faster. Wow, I wish I didn't have to stand in this line at all. Oh, look, there goes another person who has more money than me. Who like spent more money to be here and have a better time than I am. So it's like I feel like Disney is really leaning on these like hyper visual indicators that you cannot ignore that are just telling you like just spend a little bit more. Isn't it worth it? You've already spent so much to be here. Just spend a little bit more.
That's exactly what it is. It's like you've spent so much, like come on, you're here now.
Yeah.
I prefer Universal, where you're just wearing the fast pass ticket thing around your neck. And everyone can just see that they were stupid for not spending $45 to get the fast pass lane ticket. Disney, it's unattainable.
It's so unattainable. Okay, now go one more slide because I want to talk about the food at this park. And this is really interesting because I think a lot of people would think to themselves, Disney Paris, it's located in one of the biggest food capitals of the world. French food sets the standard for like so much of cuisine. And despite that, most people would agree Disney Paris has the worst food out of all the Disney parks. And I think that like the stuff that you have here, Adam, because these again are stuff that Adam sent me while he was there. And it's like, this is pretty high tier quality compared to some of the stuff that you get at Disney Paris. I think like the Ratatouille themed restaurant is a highlight, and it's the only place in the world where they have one. But we'll get into that in a second because I think it's more about the decor than the food. But then like some of the snacks are okay, but it's nothing that like you could get at really any of the other Disney parks that I've ever been to have had like so much better food. But what was your experience, Adam?
The Ratatouille restaurant is super hard to get into, and luckily we got a reservation like an hour before. The food was probably the best food that like we could get at Disney. Like it was very consistent. It was great. I got like the vegetable stew. My mom got like something else. She's like in chat so she can like let us know. Sorry.
It's all right. Our chat really wants Mickey Mouse to go to jail, which I agree 100%. Lock him up, throw away the key. We don't know what he's done to Goofy.
I don't know what my mom got, but I'm sure you can let us know. But anyways, the food was consistent and the food was good. And also just the overall experience and the like decor as well, like the big plates being like the booths and stuff. It was great. It was one of the only places in Disney ever that I've been to where I actually felt like I was going into a restaurant.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think it definitely has those vibes. And like as a big fan of Ratatouille the movie, um going into the restaurant, it did make me feel like I was in the movie. And that is kind of like one of the peak experiences I think you can have with regards to IP experiences at Disney is like
Yeah.
they're trying to make you feel that way.
Yeah.
And with Ratatouille in particular, since it's like it's such a good movie, it's such a comforting movie, and what it is replicating is at the very end when Remy opens his own restaurant for like the rats.
Oh yes.
It's like
And
it's like you're a rat.
my mom was like, it would probably be the only restaurant that like if you saw a rat, you were like, this is part of the bit.
Well, I just watched the 4-hour-long Defunctland video, and for a while they had an actual Remy puppet that they would like cart around the restaurant and like lift the tray, and there would be Remy just sort of like wiggling and dancing. I'm not sure if it was necessarily this restaurant, but it was somewhere in Disneyland Paris for Ratatouille.
You know what
That is
will,
so strange.
I will say this like beignet thing was so disappointing. The difference, like when you're so used to going to like Anaheim or like the Orlando one, is that you're so used to like the sugary food. And my mom was like, oh, like we should really get the beignets. So we got the beignets, and my mom was like, well, where's the like sugar? Where's the powder? And we didn't know it all. Like this was literally just like a dry piece of bread. Like the French really like they just don't want to like get accustomed to like the American style theme park things at all, that like they'll make the effort but then they won't fully commit.
That makes so much sense. And yeah, I thought all of the pastries were pretty disappointing, especially because like you are literally supposed to be in Disney Paris. But there were a couple of things that I remember we had that I thought were good. They at the time they had a specialty item that was like little pancakes with Nutella on them. But the only thing that we had that was super good, I felt, was the snack food. Like the restaurant food was not something that I thought was particularly great. And I think one fun fact, and another reason why I think like Disneyland Paris has its charms, is you can get alcohol in this park, and you can get it.
Yes.
Yeah, you can get it like so because of Walt Disney's aversion to having alcohol in Disneyland in Anaheim, most of the castle parks you can only get like wine and maybe like a specialty cocktail at a really fancy restaurant in the parks. That's usually the only place you can get it. But at Disneyland Paris, during the fireworks show, they bring out the champagne carts, and you can like get little glasses of champagne and like drink them during the fireworks. And I love that. I think that is like so cool.
I think alcohol is tied inherently with Disney parks in general thematically. And the fact that it's not allowed in California is so silly, because Walt loved a good alcoholic beverage while smoking a cigarette and having both photoshopped out of his hands so we don't see any of those pictures.
That's so real.
Yeah.
Also, the Paris park as well is just so like, it's so funny. It literally is. They wouldn't have this if it was in Barcelona at all. But like, just the amount of times that you're walking past someone like just smoking a cigarette in line for a queue. Like there was someone in It's a Small World line just smoking a cigarette, and they're not going to say anything because if you try to like tell a French person off, they'll kill you.
When I went to Disney World with my ex, she was a chain smoker. Like 4 cigarettes to a pack a day, and she was terrified that we were going to go to Disney and she wouldn't be able to just smoke as much as possible. And she tried to like wean herself off, and about like by day 1.5, she was like, where the hell is the smoking section? I'm gonna go to that random part in Animal Kingdom with all the strollers and just chain smoke as much as I can. We're not together anymore, not because of the chain smoking, but
Maybe
yeah,
a little bit, because
maybe a little bit. You know, her breath did stink, but it's just, you know, I can't imagine any Disney park these days, at least in America, allowing cigarettes to kind of be around. But yeah, I imagine telling a Frenchman that he can't have, you know, a light is probably not going to go well.
Yeah, there's also actual smoker areas in every single section of the parks in Disney Paris as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
those are
and you
more
can
just for
definitely
reference.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can definitely smell the like acceptance of tobacco in Disneyland Paris, which, you know, gotta love them, gotta accept who they are. They're French people.
They're French.
Okay, so our last topic on
Oh my
specifically
goodness,
Adam's
Jake
vacation.
McIntyre mention.
Yes. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and this was cracking me up when you were there, Adam, I want to talk about your character meet and greets. And we have these pictures of your mom with the princesses, and then we have these selfies of you with some of the costumed characters. So tell me a little bit about your experience with this.
So I wanted to do this because like me and my mom do Disney so differently than like Kat, which is like we don't really book things in advance and we always like miss meet and greets and stuff like that. And so I was like, we did the hotel package, which meant that we were able to book character dining experiences. So I was like, let's do both. So this one was a buffet style, and this one was like a lot of people, like probably 100 people in this huge banquet room, and it was like buffet style. And then the princesses was honestly probably like maybe 15 tables max, and it was very intimate in a much smaller like room like right beside the castle. And this one was more expensive than the characters, which was crazy because I think the character one was worth it. Now what I will say is with the princesses and with the characters, they would go around every table. They didn't miss a single person, and a cast member would come around at the end of the allocated time and be like, have you met this one, have you met that one, have you? So I think like the value for money is really great. I was nervous going into both of them because I think it's stupid. As much as I love Disney, like I'm an adult at the end of the day. The characters was first, and I was like, oh, like this is gonna be like so embarrassing because like I know that like that's not Mickey Mouse, and like I know that like he can't speak to me, so I'm like, what are we just like what are we doing here? And it took me meeting the first character to like kind of get into it. And also like I was surrounded by like kids mainly, but like there were also like adults, so I felt like it was like a safe space or whatever. And then I really got into the characters with the suits, and it was kind of like a high five, we take the selfie, and then that's it, right? Like a lot wasn't expected. So that was great, and I loved it so much. And also it was so funny because there was definitely I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Pluto. There was definitely, or maybe it was Mickey. One of them, there was definitely like a little gay boy in it because he was
Oh.
crazy, like wanted my pussy so bad. But anyways, when it came to the princesses, wait, click on the princesses. So this is the one that I was dreading. My mom loves Disney princesses, but for me this was like my idea of a nightmare because these people are like my age, and like they're theater kids, and like I know the people, and I'm like, oh, like this is so embarrassing because like you're gonna, I know that you're not Cinderella. Like this, like I know that you like what the fuck. Like if you come over and start speaking to me like Cinderella, I'm like, oh my god, this is like borderline like really fucking sending. And I'm like, that's your job or whatever. So I was doing it with my mom. And so I was told to my mom, I was like, make sure you're the one talking to them. You take the photo. Like, I'm doing this because you want to meet the princesses, whatever. I just really couldn't take it seriously. And I'm going to be honest. And like when they were coming up and talking to my mom, like even my mom was a little bit startled. Like they were talking to my mom like she was like 4 years old. And we were definitely the only people there that didn't have a child under the age of 8 with us. And it was definitely picked up on or whatever. And like they would go around and they'd be talking to these kids for like 10 minutes. And then they would come over to me and my mom would be like, hey, like, should we get a selfie? And we would get a selfie, whatever. And I remember one of them was like talking to my mom about like something with like the castle and oh my god, and the camera, blah, blah. And my mom was like, yes, of course, of course. And that to me, like, this to me is like my limit. Like, Kat, you got me into being like the Disney adult and stuff like this. The character dining with like the mascots, that is officially my limit. Never again will I do an interaction thing with like the princesses. They're great at what they do and they were great with the kids, but my fucking goodness, I have never been so personally embarrassed in a situation in my life just based on like, I'm like, I can't do this, like, honestly. And even my mom felt the same as well. Like, I really just can't do it.
I think that's so real. And I feel like when I was a little kid, I hated doing this and I would not do this. And there's actually, so the Florida version of this restaurant with all the princesses is called like Cinderella's Royal Table. And I think there might be other ones, but when I was a really little kid, my parents took me and spent all this money so that I could get like a photo with Cinderella, which also, put a pin in that, this Cinderella like face card, absolutely. She is so good. All of them are amazing. I've never, like, all of the princesses all around the world, they're all fantastic. But this one really stopped me in my tracks because I was like, she looks exactly like Cinderella. I was so slayed. But so when I was a little kid, I refused to meet her And my dad has a picture with Cinderella because he thought that if he took one, I would be less scared, but I still refused. So only my father has a picture with like Cinderella at the royal table. And then as I got older, I've always similarly, like, I think this is kind of where I would draw my limit as well. It's awkward because I don't know what to say to them. And the costumed ones are a little bit easier to bear with. But yeah, I think that the character meet and greets are hard.
Also, Kat and Steven, if you go back to the princesses, the one in the middle is Aurora, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that was the first one that came up to our table, and my mom did this entire, and she was the one that talked to my mom the most about like her story or whatever like that. And my mom was like talking to her or whatever. My mom sits there and goes, "I don't know who that is."
Sleeping Beauty is a deep cut, you know?
She genuinely didn't know who it was.
That is so funny. I feel like the reason why Aurora gets so much play in the parks to this day is not because kids are watching Sleeping Beauty, but because she's pink. She's wearing the pink dress.
Yeah.
So I think that contributes greatly to like why she remains like a popular character, because there are some others that I've definitely like been lost to time. But yeah, so this wraps up, I think, this portion.
Yeah, they don't do Pocahontas much these days.
Well, yeah. You can see her in Animal Kingdom, but she doesn't get off the boat from what I could tell.
She used to have a show with a live raccoon. But they don't do that anymore.
That's devastating. Okay, so bringing us up to the present. This is my last time closing the loop on the Disney Paris financial situation. So, like I said, park opened in 1992, enormous flop. Literally cost Disney, the company, millions and millions and millions of dollars. Huge financial failure. It actually made it impossible. Disney at one point was planning to open a third U.S. theme park in Virginia that was themed after America, which honestly, thank God that did not open, because I don't know, I couldn't defend that to this day. But they had to cancel their plans for Disney in like the East Coast Disney, and the only time when it financially recovered, interestingly enough, it started to recover a few years after opening in the mid-90s. Two things helped it financially recover. One, they opened a Space Mountain in Disney Paris, and that drove a lot of attendance because it's an amazing ride. Second reason why it was able to financially recover is because the Saudis, which people who watched our channel from the beginning will recall our discussion about this at length, but the Saudis helped Disney out with a cash injection around this period. And I don't know exactly what the structure of that deal was, but there was something in it for them. It might have been partial ownership.
It was a theme park in 2 decades. That's what they got out of it.
Disney was finally able to buy Disney Paris from its investors in 2017. So now the park is entirely owned by Walt Disney, by the company. And there were more financial struggles down the road because of the failures of the Walt Disney Studios Park, which is now getting renamed. Much in the same way that Euro Disneyland became Disneyland Paris, Walt Disney Studios Park is becoming Disney Adventure Park. And with Disney Adventure Park, they're opening World of Frozen, which is coming very soon. They are opening a Lion King themed area, and there might be one more. There might be some Encanto stuff that's getting opened as well. But so that is the most immediate thing on the horizon, is this World of Frozen. And I put the concept art here, which I think is much grander than what we're actually going to get. But the only thing we've been teased with so far, and kind of the final thing we wanted to talk about today, is the little Olaf animatronic. So let's watch our little buddy. Because when I saw this video, I could not stop watching it.
Oh, we're doing it more than once.
There he goes.
Where's it going?
Oh my god. It is so fucking cute.
It's amazing.
Okay, yeah.
It is amazing. This is low-key the best thing I've seen from them in a hot minute. So my question for everyone here, going back to our PowerPoint, is, would you take a trip to see World of Frozen at Disney Paris, and do you think it will be a hit?
Are you paying?
No, the Saudis are.
We're getting an investment. We're getting our very first sponsor.
I like the comment, guys, where was Mickey on January 6th?
That's good.
Nothing but the best.
Wait, WW, flip it around, MAGA mice.
No.
I've just been looking at chat. I love that all of you are here. This is our third thing, and having so many people here is so awesome. But it's so overwhelming to see so much wave of mouse jailing and torture. But again, I'm for it.
Pretty deserved. Pretty deserved.
Do you think World of Frozen is a justification to go back to Disney, though, specifically for the first couple years when it's going to be, like, you know how busy the sections are in Paris? Like, I think it's going to be so unattainable to go for so long.
Yeah, I agree.
I just don't know how different it's going to be from the one in Shanghai. Like, it feels like they're just kind of, like, Frozen is the big moneymaker these days, but they don't have too many right ideas for it. It's just kind of like the creepy animatronic one that they have in the American parks and the much better one that they have in Shanghai. And the Olaf walk around. What else have they got?
Well, my conspiracy, like I said at the top, I don't even think that they're going to let that thing walk around because, to Adam's point, someone would put a cigarette out on its head. Like, someone would knock it over, someone would kick it. I think that, as we've seen in the other parks, they oftentimes debut this.
Someone would kick it?
I think someone would kick it. I think someone would kick Olaf and he would go flying. If not a child, then a grown adult. Probably one who was just told he couldn't smoke on property. But I don't think that they're going to let him roam freely because we've seen this type of technology that they've debuted sort of to advertise and market new lands elsewhere, and then it doesn't actually appear because it would be like, it just wouldn't work. It would not work out. People would swarm it. There's a lot of reasons why I think this wouldn't actually like work in reality to have that Olaf.
Yeah, I should have grabbed the Defunct Land video because he has a section about why living characters are basically gone from the parks for the most part because they can't walk anywhere. They can't do anything. Like it was one video of they had a talking trash can at one point that would just like talk and walk around the parks. It couldn't move anywhere because everyone just kept running up trying to touch it and throw things in it. But it's not a real trash can. You can't do any of that stuff. So, like, Disney only makes stuff that they can monetize. That Olaf will be behind a meet and greet. And behind, like, a rope that no one can actually get near. He's not just going to be hanging out. He's going to be locked away, and you have to buy a special pass if you want to get near Olaf. And it's going to be very sterile and not very, fun, but it's going to be heavily monetized, and that's what Disney wants.
Exactly. I'm literally crying at the comments. The comments are so funny. Wait, I have to read some of them.
Olaf's gonna pay his rent.
My favorite one was
do not call
Olaf
Mickey queer.
Olaf doesn't deserve your foot, Captain Bark. Do not call Olaf queer.
Oh my god. Wait, I do have a question though. What is your opinion on the fact that the Olaf has integrations of AI that they said is only going to get smarter?
Yeah.
I don't even know whether to believe them.
So Disney has a deal with NVIDIA.
That's the AI cat Tenbarge.
Yeah, she's not real. She hasn't been real this entire time. We're all just robots. Disney has a deal with NVIDIA where they're basically training their robots inside of simulations so that they can handle, walking around or getting a slight push from a kid. And these robots that are walking around the parks are feeding NVIDIA data. So they're basically just training. Disneyland has just become a training ground for the AI robots. And Olaf is just the latest in a long line. Like, I think Olaf exists because it's better for shareholders to buy into an AI company than it is to buy into a media brand these days.
Yeah. No, that does make a lot of sense. Also, this is our final slide, but we've been going for so long that I had to turn on my ring light because it got dark outside. Okay, so for my final slide, I had to slay. But no, these are my photos that I took at the other World of Frozen. There's one in China. There's also one in Japan. that had opened like maybe about a year ago before I went there. And so I went, and I basically everything that we've talked about was the reality that I experienced when I went here. I could not get on the Anna and Elsa ride, even though I was there for multiple days, because it would sell out of fast passes within like literally 2 to 3 minutes of the park doors opening, and I couldn't even get into the park that quickly. And then the line throughout the entire day would be like 3 hours long. Not even an exaggeration. So we did not ride Anna and Elsa's Frozen Journey, to my immense displeasure, but it's basically the same ride that they have at Epcot that was a rethemed version of the Maelstrom in Norway. And it's better. Like, the one that they've built elsewhere is better. It has better animatronics, it has more scenes, etc., etc. But it wasn't something that I was like knocking down the door to get into. And then the park itself was gorgeous. However, it was just so crowded. This was one of the reasons why I knew that they aren't going to let Olaf roam free, at least for very long, in Disneyland Paris, because like you said, Adam, the parks, the lands themselves get so crowded, and this was no exception. Like, we had to work very hard to get pictures that didn't have a ton of people in the background, because it was everywhere. It was nonstop. And I would say overall, like, it's fun. It's an exciting new aspect of the parks, but it's not a big enough draw to actually like book flights and fly to an international park and stay at an international park just to see World of Frozen. It is not worth that. I do think that they'll probably bring it to the US parks eventually, because every time they post about them online, US, like, Americans get so mad that we don't have Frozen Land yet.
As we should. That's the one we all want to see. We all want to hang out with Elsa and take pictures.
I have a question for both of you. If you could have any land be added from any movie, what would it be?
Oh, that's such a good question.
I would like Muppet Land brought back to Disney,
And
and expanded from that. We got the original Muppet Land that we almost got until Jim Henson had to die from pneumonia.
That's so sad. I am very excited for Slash. This is something that was rumored for a long time, and it's gonna come true at some point. Like, they've announced it. There's gonna be a Villains Land.
Mm-hmm.
And I do love that concept. I'm very excited to see what they do with it. I hope that they don't disappoint. But yeah, I feel like there's not one movie that specifically comes to mind, because I think a lot of the ones that would interest me the most are in development now. And I think Cars Land is probably the best that they've done, and I don't even like that movie, so I feel like it doesn't necessarily correlate with like favorite IP.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I want like a developed land, and like I think it could be one of the most beautiful of Coco. I watched Coco for the first time a couple weeks ago, and I think the bringing to life the universe of Coco, like entering like that would be I think it would be like monumental. I need to watch that again tonight. God, what a movie. Give it up for Coco, everyone.
So good. Yes, we love Coco. That is a really good one, and I do think there's gonna be some sort of Coco ride / like miniature land in Animal Kingdom.
Kill you. They kill you.
They kill you, yeah. They kill you so that you can ride the ride. But yeah, there's gonna be one in Animal Kingdom, but it's not gonna be a full land, and I have low expectations in terms of, is it actually gonna be good?
Yeah.
Oh, Steven's bringing us something to say.
Yes, I on one final note, I would like to show you what Coco Land could be. And this is what they just started bringing to the parks.
Like, I controlling him is low-key great.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I saw that recently, and I was like, that is so cool. That is such a fun. Really cool. Though I do realize I don't think it showed up very well on the stream.
Are you guys saying this looks cool? That looks dumb as shit.
Excuse me, I don't agree.
Oh my god, this first fight on the podcast.
I think Coco Robot AI thing. I mean, Coco Puppeteer looks awesome. Look at him.
Well, wait, Adam, do you remember those margaritas we had at California Adventure?
Oh, they were beautiful. The drinks that were drunk.
We need those margaritas. We need one of those margaritas, and this Coco puppet is the perfect combination.
You torture it. I don't want you to
Well-
torture the Coco puppet. He's just a young boy who wants to sing,
He's just a boy.
who
He's
wants
just
to
a
make
boy.
his grandma happy.
All right, well, that was the end of our slideshow. Adam McIntyre, thank you so much for coming. Do you have any final words that you'd like to leave with the audience today?
About Mickey Mouse getting arrested.
I'm just gonna say that in the introduction of Frozen Land, Olaf needs to pay his rent, and that's all I gotta say.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next week.
We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.